What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to talk about how to perfect your exits. Now, we've done a few videos on how to time your entries for maximum profit, and that's all good, but that's really the easy part of trading. Anybody can enter a stock correctly. The way that you actually make money is by selling it when it's time to, or cutting your losses when it's time to. So you take an exit on a stock for one of two reasons. The first being that A, hopefully you're taking profit, or B, the second reason would be that you're covering a loss. It's a losing trade and you're going to exit. So this will be a two-part video, and in the first part we're going to talk about simply the risk management aspect of exiting a trade and protecting yourself, and how to really take losses like a professional. So there's a lot of ways to approach your exits. I would say that the typical four ways would be that you exit the trade on a set percentage loss. You exit the trade on a set dollar loss. You might exit on a break of support or resistance, and if you're like me, you just simply make all of your decisions on both the entry and the exit based upon simply price action and volume. So those are kind of the four ways, the four average ways you can approach it. And every trader has different goals, different personality, and different mindset. But at the end of the day, when it comes to exiting a losing trade, what you want to do first is A, protect your capital and protect your forward progress, and B, you want to protect your mind state. If you take a mindset rather, if you take a larger than needed loss, it's going to throw you off, and all of a sudden you're trading out of fear, anxiety, and all those kinds of things you want to avoid. So keep in mind that perfecting your entries is an art, because it's so easy to mess up. It's so easy to get either shaken out, which means the stock really didn't move down and you kind of got punked out, or you continue to sit in a losing trade and that hole just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So you want to avoid both those things. So how do we find the happy medium, or how do I personally find the happy medium? So take a look at some charts now and kind of get into this a little deeper. Now, before I get into my personal preference of taking exits, there are some advantages and disadvantages to each of the four I just briefly explained. So set percentage loss. The advantage of that is that A, you have a structure. You know how much you're willing to lose percentage wise. It could be 2 to 5 to 10%. So you got some kind of structure in place. If that happens, you're out and you're trading with a plan. And the same thing kind of goes with a certain dollar loss. You exit. It's good. It's a start. You have something that you're basing your approach on. What I will say is that you really got to find a happy medium. If your loss is 2%, and that's your set in stone loss. The stock, your position goes 2% in the hole, and you're out. A lot of times, what can happen is that you just get shaken out. Your stop gets hit, and literally 5-10 minutes later, the stock is corrected. It turns out it was actually, not really a material move to the downside, and it continues higher. So that kind of sucks. Those are kind of the advantages and disadvantages of those two approaches. So that's something to keep in mind. If your stop is too tight, you're going to get shaken out easily. If your stop is too big, you're likely going to take more damage than needed. So we really got to try to find a happy medium. And like I mentioned before, everybody is different. Everyone has different goals of their trading. Me personally, my goals are to continuously ramp my position sizes higher and higher while limiting my losses. So not really by by rule or by design. Most of my my losses on my options trades, they fall in the 10 to 20% range, and where the average win is 100% or higher with the options because they're very leveraged. That's huge. And that supports my goals. For example, today we'll take a look at Facebook. I had $4,000 of risk in Facebook. Tidy this up a bit for you guys. I'm actually going to switch over to the 65 just for a better view. So let me see. Okay, so today I took my entry in Facebook, and as I said, I had $4,000 of risk. So that's pretty big, relative to the portfolio I'm trading, as my model for this group. So I entered the trade. It immediately, went in my direction, was up, a few $100, and then it completely reversed on me. I didn't have I didn't have a stop in place. I didn't have, any orders waiting to get me out. My preference is to simply base all of my decisions upon price action, and that's on the entry and the exit. So on my entry, what pulled me in? What was compelling here? It was this increase in volume as the stock was kind of moving its way higher here. It was a good morning for tech. Tech has kind of had, a little resurgence lately, so that's why Facebook was on my list. So it was this price action that pulled me in. As soon as my reason for getting in is gone, in my opinion, the party's over. It's time to go home. It's like a relationship. It was great in the beginning. Very quickly, this relationship between me and Facebook was not working out. I could have sat here, I could have held this overnight, crossed my fingers, and, hope tomorrow goes well, but I prefer to cut them off. It ain't nothing to cut that bitch off. So, why did I exit Facebook today as well? This right here. That's a big, nasty reversal bar. You can see some selling volume came in. Like I said, I based everything off of price action. The price action was my reasoning for getting in. We got some volume coming in. Looks like there's some demand for Facebook stock. That's why I'm in. Whenever that changes, I'm out. Unfortunately, a few hours later, it changed. This party that we're starting right here, where I came in, is over. I got $4,000 at risk. I don't really have the patience or the desire to sit around and see if, this party continues. For the time being, the party was over. The stock completely reversed. It went from being up 1% to, basically flat. I'm out. I'm going to move on to the next one. That's my decision. You could have traded this and said, okay, 2% loss, I'm going to be out. And not a good example because I'm using options, but, just keep in mind, guys, the reason that you get in for a stock, the reason that pulls you in, you should stay in the stock until that changes. So it was this demand that made me say, hey, I want a piece of Facebook. As soon as that, demand disappeared, I was wrong. I got no problem being wrong. I'd rather cut my loss and move on to the next one. So I am out. And I try to keep it that simple on a daily basis. Whatever my reasoning for getting into a stock, which if you guys have been following me for a while now, is supply and demand. As soon as that's over, I'm out. So look at this right here. If you got on Facebook here, your reasoning was the price action. It never ended. This party really didn't end until it kind of ran out of steam up here. That would be a perfect exit. Party's over. Volume is starting to fall apart. It's done. You move on to the next one. And unfortunately, over the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of fades that have really forced me to, say to myself, hey, party's over, a little quicker than average. Here's another good example. Bluebird. Why did I get in Bluebird? Nice squeeze here. And I took this bar. And again, what pulls me in every time? It's that volume. That's looking great. It's looking great. All of a sudden, guys, the whole mood shifted. And we went, from all the way up here and quickly down the next morning. Could I have held on and say, hey, maybe the buyers will come back. This is just a shakeout. It's going to return. Of course I could have. What would have happened in this situation? I would have taken a huge loss. What did I do instead? My reasoning for getting in, which was that volume, that momentum, it changed. The party that started over here was over. Everyone packed their shit and went home. Are they coming back? Who knows? I don't care. For now, the party is over. I took some profit up here, and then I walked away. Now, fortunately, or unfortunately, for those who were still in it, the stock continued to fall, but I stuck to my guns. I stay in a move until the party is over. Very quickly, as you can see right here, that party ended. It was a one-day party, a quick banger, and it's over. I'm out, guys. SolarEdge is another good example. Huge momentum. This was a wild party starting. That's what pulled me in, this volume here. When you see volume like that, that was a really strong day. You can see that here in the daily. 9 times out of 10, that's going to continue. That's a lot of buying coming in. So on the your average market conditions, that's going to continue higher. That party's going to keep going. You're going to be getting fucked up for weeks. Nope. Not in this market condition. The party was over. rather than saying, I'm willing to lose 10%, or, I'm willing to let it come down, to support at 27. No. What was my reason for getting into the trade? Big time volume and momentum and demand. The very next day, that ended. That might be a little quick for some of you guys. For me, the best trades are the ones that continue to go higher. That demand continues to pour into the stock. That wasn't happening here. I made $300-400 in a single day. I called it quits because the party's over, and I'm very happy with that. And that's kind of, that's kind of how you guys got to think about that. So again, guys, that's how I approach it. And what I found is that over time, that's allowed me to, to make my profits very big because I stay in until the party's over. And it's also allowed me to keep my losses, pretty small because I cut them when the party's over. Now, all said and done, this entire discussion is really going to be about, a 45-minute to an hour video. But my girlfriend needs a little bit of help with something right now, so I got to take off. I'll be back tonight, to finish this up. But we kind of discussed this all day in the group chat today. When's the best time to take an exit? Yada, yada, yada. Here's my brief thoughts on it, guys. This is kind of, this to prepare you for the video series that's coming, So just keep that in mind. Everyone's different. Your exit should always be based upon your goals and your personality. For me, I get in when the party starts, and I am out when the party's over before the cops show up and take everybody away. So look forward to the real video tonight, guys, and sorry for the hold up, but this should be good for the next few hours.